Welcome to the Killer Author Club. 3 best-selling authors talking about killing, of the fictional kind, with the best thriller and suspense authors in the business. Killer conversations, killer cocktails, and killer guests, with your hosts, Kimberly Bell, Heather Gudenkauf, and Kara Ruda. This is the Killer Author Club.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Killer Author Club, your favorite late-night haunt for all things murder, mystery, and delicious mayhem. Tonight, the one and only Karin Slaughter joins us, stepping into the killer spotlight to talk about her 25th novel. That's right, you heard that correctly. It is We Are All Guilty Here, and you're going to love it. So, welcome to all our new blood and our OG killers, whether you're watching live, catching the replay, or listening to the killer postmortem. We are so glad you're here for however long you last. I'm Killer Heather Gudenkauf.
I'm Killer Karin Slaughter. Sorry. the one thing I had.
I'm Killer Kara Ruda.
And I'm Killer Kimberly Bell. If you love tonight's show and want even more deadly fun, check out our podcast exclusive after show called The Killer Postmortem, where every guest confesses something disturbing. New episodes drop this Friday. Links are at killerauthorclub.com. While you're there, sign up for our newsletter, no spam. We promise just the latest killer content delivered monthly, open carefully.
So let's dim the lights and dive right in. Tonight's guest is a true legend of the thriller world. For more than 2 decades, Karin Slaughter has haunted our bookshelves and our dreams with characters that linger, plots that pulse, and stories that refuse to let go. With more than 40 million books sold, translated into 120 countries, and multiple best-selling series to her name, Karin has built a blood-splattered empire. Top Down, Pretty Girls, The Good Daughter, each one a master class in tension, heartbreak, and horror. Her work has leapt from page to screen. Pieces of Her became a #1 Netflix series. Will Trent thrills weekly on ABC, and The Good Daughter is headed to TV with Rose Byrne and Megan Fahey. She's also the founder, if that's not enough, she's also the founder of Save the Libraries, fighting to protect the very places that fed our imaginations from the start. A native of Georgia, Karin calls Atlanta home, and tonight she's calling the Killer Author Club home too. Congrats, Karin, on your 25th novel. Amazing. Welcome to the Killer Hot Seat.
Thank you.
And we have so many questions for We Are All Guilty Here. But first, can you give us the best elevator pitch that you have for We Are All Guilty Here?
You know, I'm really bad at elevator pitches. It's plummeting to the ground and won't ever speak of it again. It's about sisterhood, motherhood, sex, violence, how we treat young girls, and how women juggle all of those things at the same time.
So good. Love it. I was telling Kimberly and Kara, I think this is my favorite of yours that I've read to date. So very good. So
Yeah, and praise is pouring in, and it's bloody brilliant. Karin Slaughter is always a must-read. That's Harlan Coben. A powerful and gripping read from Sherry Lapina. Explosive from the very start, Kara Hunter. A knockout punch. My God, sign me up for more. I mean, this is so fun. And the starred review from Library Journal said another suspenseful winner. Book list, starred review. Messy, fascinating family, small town secret. Something new is coming. Book list. All right. So, Kimberly, the killer.
Yeah. So, Karin, clearly you are a daring, devious, and diabolical killer, which is why we want to ask the killer question: where do you kill?
I hope you mean fictionally, because I would never tell you the literal answer. I do most of my writing in North Georgia. That's where I am now, in a cabin surrounded by nature in the woods. I just find it's a lot easier to focus on writing when it's just me and my laptop and the story.
no
I
distraction.
love that. I want a cabin.
Same.
Highly recommend. Yeah. Actually, it didn't feel like home till I had my bookcase. People think this is a virtual background for some reason. It's like, well, there's not actually a Karin Slaughter virtual background. Um, there should be, but this was the most important thing that I had built in my office. Was I just felt alone without having books around me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love
Well,
it.
it's a gorgeous backdrop.
So 25 novels in and you're still going strong. Was We Are All Guilty here a fresh start or a new layer in your killer evolution? It's a brand new series.
Yeah, it is. I think it's both. It's sort of a return to where I started with Grant County, writing about murder in a small town. And it incorporates a lot of things I learned along the way about writing series novels. I mean, I should say I'm still going to do Will Trent books. I love Will and Sarah. But when I started this, I actually knew I was going to write a series. And that's not how it was with my first book or even Will Trent. I think one of the things I'm grateful for is that I'm at a level in my career where I know at least 2 or 3 more books are going to be published. So I'm pretty confident saying I'm going to start a series. And it gave me the opportunity to do a lot of world building and to plant a lot of seeds that will grow into storylines for later novels. So I felt kind of, in a lot of ways, like I was just setting up the series in a very deliberate way that I hadn't been able to do before.
Yeah. So I know a lot of your other books are set in Atlanta. I'm an Atlanta gal myself, and I love reading stories set there. But which do you prefer, the big city books or small town? Do you have a preference?
Well, I mean, if you look at statistics, all of the really gruesome murders happen in small towns. Right? I mean, where we think we're the safest, we're probably the least safe from the kinds of horrible stories that you read about in our novels, right? But it's just a different breed when you're talking about a smaller community like Clifton County, where the North Falls series is set. North Falls is the seat of the county. It's a very small city, fewer than 1,000 people. You have the ability as a writer to make all these emotional connections with the main characters. Emmy, who is the narrator, the protagonist of this story, she is part of the Clifton family, and her father is the sheriff. She's a deputy. Her cousin is family law. In family law, so she knows everybody who's gotten divorced in town. Her brother and sister-in-law work at the high school, so she has all these tendrils in the community. And to me, it's a lot of fun writing about crimes where there is a personal connection. Unlike Will Trent, where sometimes there's a personal connection, but more often than not, because Atlanta is such a big city, around 8 million people in the metro area. The most that they're dealing with in these books would be strangers, or so it's more needle in a haystack than writing about a small town.
Yeah, and I love the character of Emmy. She, I just really fell in love with her. She's not perfect. She's very emotional, and she has, a lot of baggage, a complicated but loving relationship with her dad, and is really driven to be the best police officer that she can be. But how did you decide on her as the main character, and to carry this person and grow her and develop her into a few more novels?
Well, I mean, it was very deliberate the way I created her, because I did want her to feel like a fully realized woman from the first page. When we meet her, we first meet her through the perspective of a 15-year-old girl who is not always nice about how she talks about people in her life who are older than her, particularly women. She's got a really negative point of view about Emmy. And she fills in a lot of details about Emmy before we actually meet her that Emmy probably wouldn't want other people to be talking about. But, she's in a marriage that's a bad marriage to a guy who's already checked out, and she's trying to raise her young son. She's dealing with parents who are aging. I mean, this could describe any millennial or Gen X woman right now, right? So it felt like a pretty universal story. And she works with her dad, which she loves her dad and respects him a great deal, but there's a definite power balance there that doesn't always go in her favor. And he's her most trusted confidant, but he's also her boss, and everything in her life is a little too complicated for her to be, someone who feels fully realized in their own life. That doesn't come for her until much later.
Right.
So you kind of have this theme in a lot of the books about like violence against women, right? And in this book, you tackle it with like urgency, but also empathy. And how do you balance that? Because you want to be realistic, right? But you also want to be a little sensitive and tell a good story. How do you balance that as you're writing?
Well, I mean, first I should say I kill men in my books too, but no one seems to care about them. So, sorry guys. I killed 5 guys really brutally in one of my novels, and the next one there was like one female victim, and they were like, "Oh, she's returned to violence." But particularly when I'm talking about young girls who are victimized, it's such a tightrope to watch, to write, because Emmy has the line, "We are all guilty here." That's where the title comes from. And she's saying it to her son in the book, as a way to absolve him of some of the guilt he's feeling. She's saying we're all guilty and we all should cut ourselves some slack. Of course, being a good mother, she's trying to teach her son that, but it's not a lesson she's taken on board. But women are so judgmental of each other. And particularly, when teenage boys make stupid mistakes, we have all kinds of excuses for them. And we just assume, we need to give them more chances and they'll right themselves eventually, and boys will be boys. And, some kid going on a unicycle over a cliff juggling knives, we're like, stupid boys. Well, at least he's okay. Girls who make mistakes do not get that benefit. Particularly where sex is involved. And, we were all teenage girls. We were all horn dogs. We all remember what it was like. But there's this puritanical knee-jerk reaction to crimes involving girls, where we're like, okay, well, I want to know a little bit more about them before I decide if they're victims, right? And we start using language like, oh, mature for their age, or as if having breasts and going through puberty means their brains are developed more. I mean, they're not women. They're kids still. And, if they're interested in sex, it's not with some gross 40-year-old guy. I mean, speaking for myself, a lot of women in their 40s aren't interested in gross 40-year-old guys, right? So, we just put all this baggage on them. And I think if anything in this book, hopefully anyone reading it will think the next time, because there will be a next time, there's probably a next time happening right now, a young girl is abused, we'll kind of check ourselves, wait a minute, because she looks like a woman, that doesn't mean she's a woman. And we don't let children, particularly girls, have childhood anymore.
Right.
And that's something that I think is an important theme in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I love it when the media or people just say an underage girl. I'm like, no, she's a girl. I mean, the media always reports it like that. I'm like, stop it. It's a girl.
Right.
Yeah.
And Emmy, really brings that humanity to those 2 girls, because everybody else is speaking very unkindly about them. And, she's, despite their first, that encounter and that the day when the event happens, she's really their fiercest advocate, along with the young girl's stepmom. But so tell us more about the girls. Like, did you have them in mind as you started writing? Did you base them on any specific case that you've read about?
Well, it's revealed in the first chapter, I think, so as a light spoiler, that these girls are abducted, Cheyenne and Madison. And that first chapter from Madison's point of view. And she's doing what every 15-year-old girl does basically is, not liking her stepmom, hating everybody in the town, wishing that she could get away, that she's got these plans. She's going to go to Atlanta and meet a football player, and he's going to fall in love with her, and she's going to marry him, and happily ever after, right? Which just tells you how stupid girls are. But she does really feel these emotions, and it's these intensely held emotions that she doesn't want, and she wants to get out of there. But I think starting the book with that, meeting Emmy through Madison's eye in that first chapter, was something I thought about quite a bit, because I did want to capture the tone of this girl and show her as a real human being before the bad thing happens. Because we kind of lose sight of that. We don't think about, okay, well, she's a stepmother who loves her. She has a father who loves her, a little brother. She went to school with kids who knew her. And crimes like this affect everybody in the community, not just the family. Even people who don't know her are touched by it. And Emmy in particular, because her best friend Hannah is the stepmother in this situation, has watched Madison grow up. And so she feels a particular type of sympathy and empathy for this girl, because she herself was a stupid teenage girl, and she made really horrible mistakes. I mean, I don't know if you ever sat around with your girlfriends and had a drink and talked about all the hideously irresponsible things you did, and just shot at a serial killer didn't find all of us at some point. Because kids are kids, and they don't think about the fact that there are predators out there. And I guess we should say not all men, but it's a hell of a lot of men. And that should be talked about more.
Yeah, agreed. You have so many different moving parts in your stories. Do you know the story when you sit down to start writing it? Do you have an outline that you're working through, or are you discovering the story as you write?
Well, I guess it's are you a pantser or a plotter, is the classic framing of that. I'm very much a plotter as far as the whodunit part. I think for my writing, it's very important to play fair with the reader. I want to give you the clues so that when you get to the end, you say, of course, not what the hell just happened.
Yeah.
But, I also, it's a very careful way of writing, because I have to be there for people who do figure it out, so that I'm keeping other things in tension, so they want to keep reading. And maybe they're 99% certain, but they want to get to that 1%, and they want to know how Emmy solves it and how everything is resolved. So there's a lot of different levels that you have to write to when you do a novel like this. And I can't do it without having that firm idea in my head of who did it, who did this, who did that, and how is it going to end.
Yeah, I'm on your team. Not everybody here is pointing to I don't know which way this way. But I think otherwise I can't keep track of the story. You forget things, because it's it's a long process writing a novel, and so all the parts, and yeah, I don't know how pantsers do it, but Kara does.
I do that with the emotional beats. Sometimes those will change.
Yeah.
But having the scaffolding of the plot and being able to rely on that, that part's figured out, I think makes it easier to give the characters of fuller stories and give their lives meaning, particularly when I'm writing about gendered violence. I always want to make sure that everybody involved in the story, whether it's, Dylan, who is one of the other sheriff's deputies, or Gerald, or even Tommy, who's Emmy's brother, that they all have some sort of agency in the story, and they're affected by what happens.
Yeah, I can see that being a smart plot. I'm trying to learn how to plot a little bit more, let's just say. I do see the benefits of it for sure. It's just when I sit down to do it, I'm like, I can't do it. Anyway, so I wanted to know, because you have such successful adaptations out in the world, what's it like having your characters come to life, like Will Trent or Pieces of Her, any of these, they're your characters in your head, and then all of a sudden there's millions of people watching them on the screen.
And loving them.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, because as you guys know, it's a very solitary thing to sit and write your books. And then, suddenly a choice you made in your pajamas on your laptop at 3 a.m. to give somebody a red suitcase. Suddenly a prop master is finding a red suitcase and there's Toni Collette holding it, right?
Yeah.
And it's just very bizarre. With Pieces of Her, it made it very difficult for me to write the follow-up book, Girl Forgotten. My version of Laura in the books was very different from Toni Collette's version, but she looked a lot like Toni Collette, right? And Toni did such an amazing job that she made the character her own. So when I was writing Girl Forgotten, I kind of had to leave that character out. Her name is Laura. And there was so much overlap. And I kept having to tell myself, you need to write the book Laura, not the Toni version of Laura. And Will Trent, because they look so different, it's a lot easier for me. Ramon Rodriguez is probably one of the sexiest men walking the face of the earth right now. And he's amazing, but he's not 6'4" with sandy blonde hair and blue eyes.
Yeah.
He's a very nice looking guy from Puerto Rico. So the fact that he looks different and the cast looks very different is helpful for me when I'm writing Will Trent books. And I'm going to continue writing them. The new North Falls series isn't going to replace that in any way. And then I had the great pleasure of being involved in adapting my book, The Good Daughter, which you guys mentioned, with Rose and Megan playing those roles. And that was pretty amazing. I wrote all the scripts. So I'm the showrunner and an executive producer. So I was on set every day watching it come together, and Brendan Gleeson and Olivia Williams. So it was really pretty special seeing, these actors who are amazingly talented, but also, Rose Byrne is probably one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Really?
Megan is a sweetheart. They're just so good at what they do that they blended into the characters and they played them, almost exactly how I had it in my head. So that was really cool to watch that come together. Brendan Gleeson plays the father in that, and Olivia Williams was who I envisioned when I wrote the book 10 years ago. And Olivia Williams was someone I had in my head as I was writing that character of Gamma, because I just thought, she has the look and she has that ability to go between sort of icy and then very accessible and very kind. So that seemed like, just a pipe dream at the time, but to have to play that character was pretty amazing.
Yeah. Do you have to use a different part of your brain to write a script? Was that hard to kind of make the switch?
It is. I think my books are pretty dialogue heavy. I really like writing dialogue, but with a script, you have to express everything through dialogue. And that's really difficult. Especially, in We Are All Guilty Here, you have 6 pages of Emmy thinking her thoughts, and then all she says is okay. So you have to find a way. As a writer whose characters are generally fluent in silence, it was a real challenge, but I loved it. It's going to be on Peacock next year in 2026. So I look forward to seeing how we put it all together, these fantastic performances. But it really is a very different part of the brain. Yeah. And I think, as showrunner, people forget that authors are also business people. We run Authors Incorporated. And we have marketing and publicity and bookkeeping, and all of those things go into the business of being an author, in addition to the creative side. And so it was interesting to see that the business and creative side of making a television show.
Very cool.
Very, very cool. Well, Karin and her publisher are being very generous with us today, and they are going to give away 3 copies of We Are All Guilty Here to 3 lucky U.S. winners. So we scour the comments and looking for the winner, but you have to answer this one question. And I cannot believe it if someone will get it wrong, but we want to know is, how many novels has Karin written to date. So, and yes, you are all guilty if you can't figure that one out. So drop your answer in the comments and we will pick 3 lucky winners. And Karin, before we can let you go, what is there something that you can tell us that fans would be surprised to know about you?
Oh boy. I don't know. I mean, after 25 years of doing this, pretty much everything I've ever done is out there. I love cats. That's not a surprise. I love being in nature. I love reading. A lot of people are often surprised that one of my favorite areas of reading is historical fiction. Which should be surprising considering we're having a lot of history repeating itself now. But I love, that's one of my favorite genres. And when I first started writing, that was what I was drawn to before I had a taste of my first blood in writing. And never looked back.
And we're all very glad about that.
Yeah.
We actually have great news for you again. You have survived the Killer Author Club. So congratulations. There you go. And Karin, can you tell our viewers where they can find you?
Well, I'm all over social media. You can find the links on my website at karenslaughter.com.
Perfect.
Awesome. And that does it for tonight's episode. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. And please join us back here in 1 week, August 26th, when the one and only Sarah Pekkanen will be in the hot seat, answering all our burning questions about the locked ward. In the meantime, please find us wasting entirely too much time on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, occasionally, some of us more than others. For times, upcoming schedule, past episodes, recipes, and merch, surf to killerauthorclub.com. Thanks for being part of the club.
That does it for tonight's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you'd like to catch our next show live, we are every other Tuesday night on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For times, upcoming schedule, and to catch up on past episodes, visit us at killerauthorclub.com. Happy reading. Now get on out there and kill that TBR. That does it for tonight's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you'd like to catch our next show live, we are every other Tuesday night on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For times, upcoming schedule, and to catch up on past episodes, visit us at killerauthorclub.com. Happy reading. Now get on out there and kill that TBR.